pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Roll call. Here.
Shipman. Reichner.
Here.
Henry. Eister.
I do want to report that we had an executive session tonight at 5 o'clock to discuss personnel matters. Approval of minutes. I need a motion to accept the fire department, police department, treasurer, engineer, code office, public works, redevelopment authority, planning commission. Need a second?
Second. Reichner.
Yes.
Henry.
Yeah.
Eister. Persing.
Yes.
Shipman.
Yes.
Anything on the audience comment on the agenda items right now? All right, we're going to change a little thing right now. We're going to move the before SOI, we're going to move up the bicycle path committee. Mr. Logman is here to present the plan, and you now have the floor about it.
Thank you. The city comprehensive plan has a proposal for a bikeway that runs roughly from the high school to the recreation complex at the north end of the city. Taking care of the details was another matter. The plan was not detailed. And believe me, finding a route through the city, south and north, or north to south, was not an easy thing to do. But thanks to, with the help, rather, of Dennis Marquette. Dennis, would you stand and be recognized? Dennis is our bike guru. I'm not a biker. When John Shipman asked for a volunteer to chair a bikeway committee in Spark, I volunteered. I should know better. But and now I'm really into this. I checked a few things. With Dennis's help, I checked some things out online, and I got into this complete streets thing in a big way. I didn't realize that this kind of stuff's been going on around the country for about 8 or 10 years now. But we're going to do it on a small scale, I hope. Okay. I don't want to insult your intelligence by reading. I assume you all have a copy of the route from the high school. We wanted to connect school to school to school, and neighborhood to neighborhood. And we want to get everybody up to the recreation complex. And I think this will involve the school district because that's where I hope the funding will come from. Not from the school district per se, but the federal government has a program that's called Safe Routes to School. We don't need a lot of funding, I don't think, to put this into effect. We do need some cooperation with Jim. I think you said that Stan Seipel was going to
Yes,
forward to the city that lot.
that's on the table, yes it is.
That's on the table.
Yes.
Okay, that's going to be a very big part of this. We're going to have that swampland up there between Race and Lime. Okay. In tying together the schools, we proceed from the Shikellamy Stadium across Walnut to Church, and left on Church, and then we catch all. This was Dennis's proposal. He mapped the south end of this, and I kind of mapped the north end of it. And then he brought us across Chestnut, and there we might need some help. We got a project going on Chestnut. I wonder if there's some possibility we could put a bulb out at all in Chestnut. I was surprised by how far along we are with that plan. I don't know if an adjustment can be made at this point in time.
I don't know how you can put a bulb out on a 2-lane road, a street with 2 lanes.
Well, there's parking there already.
Right.
Well, the bulb would just extend as far as the parking lane.
Okay.
Okay, we don't want to stick it way out in the street now. But A lot of high school kids walk that, a lot of middle school kids walk that. And if we're gonna cross Chestnut with a bikeway, we want a very clearly defined crossing there. Either by doing it with paint on the street, but I think a bulb out would even help. It would get people at least partway into the street safely. And then with some clearly defined crosswalk, we could get them safely across. And then to Court. And by the way, there's a very bad section of all that extends from Chestnut to Court that's going to need some attention. There's a lot of potholes in that little section of alley there. And then we do a right on Court to 5th. The reason we want to go to 5th and use 5th to cross Market Street is because there's a light there. And since Market is the busiest street in the city, we want to make sure that bikers are able to cross there safely with the light. All right, and then we connect the second school, which would be the Beck School. And we want to take this bikeway right into the playground. And then use the old horn. I've already had a call from the school district. They want to meet with us as soon as we get yes or no from you folks. But we want to use the old, just a short portion of the old Horn Railroad that goes from the school playground at Beck to Ray Street. And then there we have a problem. If we continue on the Horn, that's undeveloped there. We'd have to ask the city to do some grading, but before that happens, we have to work something out with Stan Site. Okay, we take that to 6th, and then it's a clear shot. Now, the reason why we chose these streets is because, with the exception of the short length of 5th Street, these are roads that are not very much used in the city. And what we want to do in this bikeway is not only incorporate and have it used by bikers, but pedestrians as well. We want to shoot them north to the rec complex. Zach Stoddard had a very good idea. He said, why not connect with Chief Shikellamy while we're up there? And that's called for, by the way, in the comprehensive plan. And he suggests that we put some bike racks up by the tennis court, and with the Safe Routes to School funding, if we get some, developing a staircase or a pathway. There's a little ravine there just across from the tennis courts. It'll take you right up to the Chief Shikellamy Elementary School. So that's the plan. Any questions at this point in time? Yes.
Yes, Alderman, the area that you're talking about with Mr. Seidel,
Yeah.
around the Race Line Street area.
Yes.
Is that considered wetlands in there?
Yes.
And if so, is that going to be preserved?
Well, that's up to the city, and that's up to whatever is worked out with Mr. Seidel. Yeah, we're not gonna mess with that. We're gonna follow the old railroad bed, which is elevated. And I'm assuming that there's some kind of crushed aggregate under that. I don't know what they used on the Horn, but on most railroads, there's gravel, or they even used to use the ashes from the steam locomotives. But in some places they have river biscuits as a ballast, as an aggregate. But I'm assuming there's some kind of an aggregate. Right now it's a little bit overgrown. There's small trees growing there, lots of briars and brush.
Right. And I think there is some sort of legality about preserving.
Oh, yeah.
wetlands.
Well, yeah, the wetlands are a little bit further to the east and to the north, and we're not gonna mess with that at all.
The riverbank would be much closer to 6th Street.
Yeah, I was up
I
with
just don't know how
Bob
much of it's left.
when I
Just
boarded
that one short
myself.
piece.
Mike boarded myself, and I went up with Bob. The wetlands is on the back side of the old railroad. We're not even gonna touch it, go near it. It's just the old actual railroad bed itself.
to do
So,
6 and down to the
correct, it's gonna go down on 6th Street.
Okay.
And we even took that into consideration when we were up there, when it comes off close to 6th Street. there's a pond that, part of the wetlands, and there's a drain put in there. We were discussing how we're gonna try to keep the bike path that nobody even goes close to that.
Or maybe even try to enhance it for wildlife.
Because even if anything, if we clear it out, in my mind, we're getting rid of some potential bad spots that somebody could hide or whatever, so.
Right.
But it has nothing to do with the wetlands, the actual overgrowth on the river.
Right.
Ultimately, I'm hoping we can pave that. 8 feet wide is required, I think, for bikeway. So if we just get a paving 8 feet wide, maybe eventually we light that through there. I did get a call from the school district, from the director of maintenance, and his concern was that that pathway is only like 4 or 5 feet wide that runs from the playground to Ray Street. Well, I assured him that if we get some money, we'll widen that to 8 feet. And the space in there is wide enough for a pathway 8 feet wide. We don't want to be running over kids walking to school with kids on bikes. Obviously, we're gonna need bike racks, we're gonna need signage, we're gonna need stencils to paint stuff on the street. We're gonna have to fix some drains. Some of them don't lend themselves. I think there's one on All Street, which is not friendly to bikes because it's about this long and it has the splines on the drain that run in the wrong direction. So that a kid could get a bike wheel caught, or anybody could get stuck in that thing. And we don't want that to happen. So there may be some small things that we have to do like that. I don't know how much money's involved here. I have not a clue. I don't know who will do the estimating of what the cost will be, but I'm hoping we can work with the school district. According to Safe, I did a little research. Safe Routes to School requires that a representative from the school district as well as a representative from the city have to work together on this grant. So I'm thinking Cheryl and whomever. I don't know who writes grants for the school district, but I'm going to have a chat with the superintendent in another week or so. Okay, any other questions?
Great idea. Great idea.
Yeah, I think it is too. I do a lot of traveling. My kids live in other states. And wherever I go, I see lots of bikeways. And we're kind of behind the curve here. Pardon? This is for old. This is for people of all ages.
I can't ride a bike.
Well, you don't have to ride a bike. Take a walk.
Okay.
All right. Get a powered scooter. You know, this could be used by kids on rollerblades. You know, and even skateboarders. Complete streets. That idea is to use harder by all ages, but even the disabled, for all kinds of purposes. It should be a free way of kids on bikes, among other things. Not just kids, but anybody. Okay, anything else?
Well, we're gonna need to establish some sort of financial end of this, and that it's on city streets and it's recreation, so I'm not sure how we wanna go about that, but we need to start from somewhere, so. I guess between you and Dale, you can figure out who wants to, even if have somebody walk through it and give us just a general list of per section what you're gonna have to do, and then we can try to put some dollar value to it, and then find out what grants specifically would cover. I mean, they might not do manhole covers, where they would do your asphalt, where they would do signage, like you said, or painting, things like that.
I think the key, obviously, is getting a grant to do something. I would like to personally thank you, Bob, and you, Dennis, for all the hard work. I appreciated and enjoyed your presentation to Spark a couple of weeks ago, and let's do this thing. I think it would be good for the city.
Yeah. Safe Routes to School might require a match, an in-kind match. So anything you can do with grading, painting.
Well, that's what I'm saying, until you establish what you need to do,
Right.
then the grant will say, okay, we can do this part, we can't, we won't do that. Like I say, they may not pave a street or put a catch basin and that type of stuff. I mean, we need to establish what has to be done there might be other catch basins in your signature area that you need to come up with a different grading system or something like that.
So you're suggesting that we,
No, I'm suggesting I have to get either it's either city streets or the guy in charge of recreation, to at least get this coordinated enough that we need to, if nothing else, even if we just go for a walk through the route,
Yes.
take a block at a time and say, well, here's what we're gonna have to do in this block, and then come back and try to get something.
sounds
Figures
good
off.
sounds good to me.
Well, I'll work on getting the land acquired through cycle.
Mhm.
If you can give me a list of the catch basins that need replaced at the tops,
Yes,
give me that list.
okay. We may have to ask you to move some stop signs or put stop signs where there aren't stop signs now, so that we can make this corridor work. And also, we ask that maybe you could reduce the speed. We're sharing this roadway with motorists, bicyclists, pedestrians, and motorists. And if you get a speed limit somewhere around 20 miles an hour, you can make that work. But what we don't want to do is have a corridor that's clear sailing from the south end of the city to the north end of the city that every motorist wants to jump on because there are no stop signs. We want to make this biker pedestrian as friendly as possible. Okay?
Who's gonna work on the land, and Dale's gonna work on the issues with the street? Let's at least start there.
Well, the catch basin, because that's the authority. We'll have to get
But
that.
just identify like where they are and stuff, or like he's talking about stop signs.
Well, Bob, we've met a couple times now, so he knows.
Just
how
to
do
start
it.
coordinating, we gotta get to the point where it's gonna be, it's a $50,000 project or it's $1 million.
That's why I got Bob to list of the land owners, so we knew where the property was.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Is there somebody here from SRI? Slate?
Okay, I gave you all a copy of the committee report. Oh, by the way, when John did bring that up at Sparks, we sort of all looked at Bob, but he really didn't have a choice. No, he took it on. As you can see, we're moving forward, and this is getting to be our big time of the year. We have a lot of fundraisers and functions going on, and our Business and Economic Development Committee, they're moving along, and they're really working on doing a lot of good things here. They're shoring up some money to market the Sunbury asset. So they're working on that, and promotions. They're working on rack cards to promote citywide events throughout the year. Membership. We're wrapping up the membership committee or campaign. We have 92 right now, which is really well. Riverfront planning. Like I said, it starts our events. We have the Wake the Lake June 6th. With Runaway Stroller and Frank Wicker Band, and then we're going to have concerts every fourth Sunday throughout the summer months, June through September. The Renaissance Fair received a grant, and they're also in June 20th. Of course, Lake Fest for Christmas is on hold, and then comes River Festival, and we're going to have train rides. Our theme this year is 50 Years of Excellence, with the merging of the Sunbury and Northumberland schools to Shikellamy. We're always looking for volunteers to help with River Festival. New this year, not only is he working on a bike path program, he's working on a boat parade for River Festival. So we're keeping him busy. So he's really not getting time to go see his kids. New Year's Eve committees, they're still just meeting briefly. Spark, of course, we're always coming up with new ideas and the flower baskets will be hung shortly. And the Albright Council continues to meet, and we're still looking for tax credit partners. And the hometown veteran banners, as you can see, they'll be hung on, unveiled on May 16th. Okay, that's all I got.
This Saturday.
Yeah.
Yes, for the river bands, there's no covering for them from the sun
Yes, I
or the
want that.
rain. People have lost their equipment. The lighting, I had suggested him the other night, the big black lights along Front Street, they're not being used. They turn them the opposite way so you can get light from the river instead of lighting up my house, right, like daylight, that was on.
Yeah.
But they turn the lights around, they have lights on the other side of the wall. They're there, use them, just
I was working on trying to get over to see Mr. Reicher today, and of course that didn't happen. Hopefully I'll catch up with him tomorrow to discuss these issues.
I want to mention another thing, Slade, and I want to thank you and the officer for doing, getting this off the ground and get moving. And I know we talked about this probably for 10 years while we were doing the project, the Riverfront project, but we gotta find a way, even if some sort of temporary lighting or something, just to get people across Front Street.
Right. Well, we were talking about that today. We think that, you know, we need to have pedestrian crosswalk signs put up and the white lines painted across the street.
Right.
Because it works out on Chestnut Street down by the high rise, where if there's people like that. And it
Probably
down by
happens,
Weiss,
there's a left
so-
lane, turn lane in there.
Yeah, you know, so if we could get a white walkway painted across Front Street, to get over to the river and get some signs put up, and that was one of the things I was going to discuss with Jim tomorrow, signs, lighting, you know, that kind of stuff, because, I mean, we were fortunate enough and we were very lucky that the Goodwill's Hose Company came down and volunteered their time to provide us with lights down.
Well, we're also lucky we had those, Chestnut Street was blocked off, so you had those things in the middle, so it almost was like an island. And that worked, that actually worked. And that's what I'm saying, I'm gonna say the PennDOT, is there some portable, if you had a light 100 feet before that, a blinking light, just to get people to slow down. Because what happens is, the people do start going across, then somebody can't wait for 10 seconds, they wanna try to pass the other car,
Yeah.
and that's where something's gonna happen, but.
And, you know, and you don't want to tie up the fire police, you know, or have to pay even anybody to stand there. I mean, because it's all nonprofit, everybody's just trying to do free stuff down there.
Right.
And, you know, like our event Friday night was free. So, you know, you want to do as cheap as possible, is a better way to put it. But, yeah, if we could do something with signage and you know, pedestrians crossing, lines, whatever.
Stop for all pedestrians.
How do they have it, down on Second Street at the south end at Wise's? Because it's, I think it specifically states, state law requires, or however it's stated, and they put those, like, signs in the middle of the road during Wise business hours.
That's a city street.
And they have to stop.
Yeah, Front Street is
Front Street's a state road.
Okay.
The other thing is, that's mostly daytime, that's why I think some sort of blinker lights or something, a portable system of some kind, to let the cars know to slow down automatically, because you're not gonna see the people as much coming through that area at nighttime, and that's what we're talking about, a lot of the nighttime things.
And Friday night, I will put on my LCAT. Friday night went very well. I mean, we had a nice crowd there for the first time. It was beautiful outside. It was really nice, and you know, to listen to music and enjoy yourself. And then Saturday, the Riverfront cleanup crew, they had their nice little function going on there. So it's starting to get used. We're getting there. It's just going to take a little time, but we're getting there.
Yeah, if there's anybody in this room that's never seen a sunset up there, I'm telling you, you're missing, it's first class, it really is. It was amazing.
Especially while you're eating a hot dog.
Yeah. Any questions, SRI? Jamie's here.
I'm here.
Jamie's here. Think you have the
If
floor
I
for
did,
a
you
while.
wouldn't have a meeting. First, let me start by saying John sends his apologies. He threw his back out and he's taking out of bed, so I have to ask you to please take action to issue the notice of intent to award to GNR Charles Excavating for the contract for the OPG basketball courts for the Cdbg project in the amount of $34,500. John did share the notice of intent to award with everybody prior to the meeting, so everybody has seen that. And he'll issue that tomorrow if you take positive action on that this evening.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Henry.
Yes.
Eister. Persing.
Yes.
Shipman.
Yes.
Reichner.
Yes.
The second thing is the CDBG competitive grant. I put 2 copies there in front of Terry of the signature documents. I was here a couple weeks ago. We had the final public hearing. We're applying for additional $750,000 to be used for the utility work on Chestnut Street from 3rd to 10th. So this evening, I just need you to take action to approve the resolution to apply for that competitive grant, and then sign all those documents for me, so I can send the application into DCED.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Eister. Persing.
Yes.
Shipman.
Yes.
Reichner.
Yes.
Henry.
Yes.
Also related to Chestnut Street, in order to cover additional engineering costs that may come about with using PennDOT funding for Phase 2 and the additional costs of breaking it up into several pieces according to the funding, we're probably going to have additional engineering costs. So to cover those with grant funds, I want to go out and do an RFP to get proposals for them. Your RFP awards are based on experience and knowledge and all of that, not on cost. So you will be able to award it to the firm that has the most knowledge of the project. But we do need to do it so we can officially pay more engineering costs out of grant funds and not keep having to pay them out of local funds. So I put together the RFP for that. Again, I shared it with Terry before the meeting, and I would like you to give me approval to solicit quotes for that final design and construction inspection on phase 2 of Chestnut Street.
I'll make that motion.
Need a second?
Persing?
Yes.
Shipman?
Yes.
Reichner?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Ister?
We have 2 budget revisions that need approval this evening. You have one for federal fiscal year 2012. This is to move funding, this is to cover the cost of the OPG basketball court that was when the bid came in above the amount we had allocated. So in 2012, we're looking to revise the budget to move a total of $5,744.61 from what was left on the code enforcement target planning activity and some administrative funds into the OPG court. So if you would just approve, take action to approve that budget revision.
Make that motion.
Need a second?
Second.
Shipman?
Yes.
Reichner?
Yes.
Henry? Ister? Persing?
Yes.
And there's a cover letter for that and the certification that needs to be signed and be submitted to DCED. The same thing in 2013, we have a budget revision to move the rest of the funds needed for the OPG project, moving them out of the fire department ladder truck purchase into the OPG project, $6,840.39.
Need a motion?
Make that motion.
Second?
Reichner?
Yes.
Henry? Ister? Persing?
Yes.
Shipman?
Yes.
Okay. I'd also like to, any questions?
Have we got anything back from John on the cost of engineering for that project?
Yes, it's all included there. He gave me an estimate, like $8,085 was his estimated cost for that. So I did include that in the revised numbers. I'd like to get approval this evening to solicit quotes for the demolition of 1062 Miller Street. This will be done through the county's Keystone Community Funds that they've granted to the city. Contract docs are ready to go out, just need your approval, and we'll send them out to the standard list of demo contractors that get it.
I'll make that motion.
Henry? Ister? Persing?
Yes.
Shipman?
Yes.
Reichner?
Yes. We have a question on that.
Yes.
Once this Keystone, is there still funds?
There is still some, yeah, there's funds enough to do this, and then probably something else.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. The next thing is the 2015 app prep schedule. I laid one in front of each of your places this evening. This is standard procedure for your yearly Cdbg program. Looking at doing the first, or sending out project summaries at the end of this week so that the different departments in the city can submit project ideas. We'll have the first public hearing, the second meeting in June. We'll select projects in July, have the final public hearing at the first meeting in August. And we're assuming applications are going in September. That's an assumption, I don't know. And again, we're gonna estimate your allocation will be $300,000 because as a city, that is what you are to get by law. So I don't really need a motion, it's up to you if you wanna make one, just kind of an approval that you're okay with that schedule.
I don't need an emotion, we'll just accept this as a
As
schedule.
long as you're okay with it, we'll move forward that way. And then I just had one other thing that came up late today that didn't make it on the agenda. Betsy Lockwood with our Economic Development Department at Cdbg told me that DCD and the Appalachian Regional Commission are willing to accept our application at this time for that local access road funding for Chestnut Street. They seem to think we've gotten enough support letters, I'll go ahead and forward it and see where it goes. It's not approved, we're just allowed to submit the application at this time.
Well, that's a step forward.
It is. So it's all ready to go. Again, I laid the signature documents there in front of Terry that need to be signed for that. And I also sent Terry a letter that needed to be put on letterhead for that. So I guess you could just take action to approve applying for that grant and sign all those signature documents this evening.
We need a motion to accept? Second?
Ister?
Yes.
Persing?
Yes.
Shipman?
Yes.
Reichner?
Yes.
Henry?
That's all this was.
To
Thank
the
you.
point, right to the point. Redevelopment Authority update. Property listed. Here, these are highlighted. So that's for all of them to decide? Good.
Oh, that's, no, you mean the auction schedule. I
This is
think
the
that.
public
But
news.
yeah,
Okay, let's do the public nuisance first, we
The
can do
auction
that.
schedule is one of these things.
All right, well, let's do the resolution Go ahead, Mike, go ahead.
There are two properties being presented as public nuisances. We have them as separate resolutions. The content's the same, just the addresses are different, but City Council has the authority to act as the Board of Health, and this resolution would provide that Council acting as Board of Health, adopting this resolution, declares the properties located at 225 South 4th Street and 526, 528 Pennsylvania Avenue to be public nuisances. And the resolution would also designate the Code Enforcement Office to proceed with abatement of these public nuisances at those properties with prior notice to be served on the property owner and all lien holders of the property pursuant to Section 37.321 and 37.704-A of the Third Class City Code. For any description of the reason behind the public nuisance nature of these properties, we do have Code Officer Rhodes here. If council has any questions for him, I think Mr. Rhodes could describe what's going on at these properties. These are new ones being declared public nuisances, yes.
All right, so let's do them separately. You have the resolution at 225 South 4th Street, Sunbury. Need a motion to accept?
Good motion.
Need a second?
I'll second
Persing,
Yes.
Shipman,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yeah.
Henry, Eister,
Second one is 526, 528 Pennsylvania Avenue. Need a motion to accept?
Motion.
Second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Shipman,
Yes.
Reichner,
Yes.
Henry,
Yeah.
Eister,
Yes.
Persing,
Yes. Anything else? You have the, I was looking for the list of the auctions.
it's right there on that short paper. If you could reach it.
There we go. I just want to remind everybody while we're talking about it that Saturday there's a auction, 449 Ray Street, Sunbury. Yes, at 9 o'clock, 9:30, 414, 416 North 2nd, 9:45, 144 South Street, 10 o'clock, 139, 141 Church Street, and one at 10:30, 601 Edison Avenue. That's been advertised, and it's pretty much the same thing we've been doing in the past.
Dave, those are the ones that I like, 144 South Street, and 414, 416 North Second Street, if we can pull them until we get that legal opinion that I asked for.
All right, so that's the 9:30 and the 9:45, 414, 416 North 2nd. These are both empty lots.
Correct.
144 South Street, I'm not sure of that.
It's an empty lot.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's a motion.
I'll make a motion to pull.
The solicitor would recommend against the motion, given that the council has already designated the RA be responsible for handling the blighted properties. And I believe the target properties, as a result of the motion, fall into the conflict of interest that was passed by the redevelopment authority that's been established under the Public Official Ethics Act that prohibits councilmen from entering into contracts with the city. It exists for the protection of all councilmen. And so it would be the solicitor's opinion to not pull those and not interfere with the operations of the RA on a property by property basis.
Well, if that's the case, then why did redevelopment